what is happening in the knitting world, at least, is these people are not just leaving nasty comments on people's images. They're actually going after their businesses. So what they do is, first off, they pick out high profile people to go after, because you don't want to just go after like Susie Q with like 2 followers. You're not going to make an impact that way. So they go after people that are influencers in the knitting world. And then what they do is they direct message all of the major knitwear designers or knitting stores, and they basically say, if you do not denounce these people, we are going to come after you too.
Do you sense that we'll get to a whole new way of looking at, I think, not only just looking at the world as a general idea, but we're looking at work, that people are going to realize they can telecommute and work from home and maybe spend more time with their spouses and maybe don't want to be on the road 2 hours a day getting to work and commuting and the rest of it?
Well, I think it's going to have to, because so many organizations now have staffs that are completely working home. And a lot of them kind of went there kicking and screaming and they got pushed off the cliff. Now their staff is seeing, well, we can make this work and we don't necessarily always need to be in the office. And so it's going to have to change the relationship. I think it's really funny. I'm actually working with a group of managers right now who are transitioning their teams to working virtually. And they almost have to go back to basics. And they have to like build their workspaces and teach their teams how to function in these virtual environments. But once they get there, they're going to be okay.
Yeah. You think most people actually are better left to their own devices, or do you think because we're social creatures, a lot of us need to actually show up somewhere and you put on different clothes and, behave differently with other coworkers and things like that?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both, to be honest. We still need those social interactions, but also one of the keys to working at home well is to have a routine, to get up, to take a shower, not sit around in your PJs all day, have a dedicated workspace. And so that's part of what's going to help people maintain work-life balance and really be able to focus their energy on the things that matter. And so I think, people are figuring it out, and working from home is weird. I mean, this, it's like sometimes you forget to eat. Sometimes you forget what time it is. You forget to stop working at 5 o'clock. And so people are having to tackle that as well.
Yeah, when I was writing my book, I would go into our green room here, which is a bedroom, and I would just start at about 7:30 or 8 a.m. and I'd be writing, and then it would literally be 2 p.m. and David would basically slide a plate of food through the door. He would open up the door, slide it in, not even bother me, because I would legitimately forget to eat because I was so just in that zone.
Oh, the same when I wrote my book. I was up here 2 a.m. in the morning, and then I would go downstairs. My husband would be like, what the heck happened to you? Where did you go? And it's just the way it is when you get into that flow of work.
Yeah. All right. So you're a psychologist, and you're doing some interesting stuff that obviously is very relevant, as we're talking about, to the way we're all living right now. But what sort of put you on the map here was this piece that you wrote that all started, well, you were part of a knitting community, and we can all imagine how radical the knitting communities are. Tell me a little bit about the knitting communities online. I'm not in the knitting world. I don't know what's going on over there. I have respect for the knitters, but tell me about the knitting community.
Oh, Dave, prepare to have your mind blown with what's going on in the knitting world. Because this all started about a year ago. And the knitting community I'm talking about, this is not a knitting circle of little old ladies. This is mostly people of all different ages, Instagram, kind of sharing their projects and sharing their yarns and all these things. Well, about a year ago, these roving gangs of social justice warriors started infiltrating different parts of the knitting community and really started going after and bullying and mobbing people very severely. So it started with a woman named Karen Templar, who wrote a blog post about her upcoming trip to India. And she was so excited about going on this trip, and she thought it would never happen. And she was always scared to travel and all these things. And the SJWs mobbed her so badly because they said, you're othering them, you're colonizing, all this stuff, how dare you? And she had to write this full retraction and apology and point out every single thing that was wrong with her blog post. It's several paragraphs long. It's crazy. So another woman, Maria Tuskin, was watching that, and she does these beautiful hand-dyed yarns. And all Maria did was post a video on YouTube saying, I'm not comfortable with what's going on, and I'm going to take some time off of Instagram. Well, they didn't like that, and they went after her and mobbed her, tried to destroy her business, destroy all her partnerships, would post horrible pictures of her on Instagram, like photoshopped into Klan uniforms and things like that. And so that was crazy. But the thing that really got my attention was this one guy, Nathan Taylor. He goes by the name Sockmatician on Instagram, and all he did when all of this was going on was to post a poem on a hashtag called Diversity, asking for kindness, asking for people to be nice to each other.
The
And
worst
for
of
his
all
hard
things.
Oh, I know. And you know, I mean, and the ironic thing about him too is like he's a gay man in the knitting community. So he's like got a couple minority cards in this instance working for him. But for his efforts, he was thanked by being mobbed by hundreds and hundreds of people to the point where he had a nervous breakdown and went into the hospital on suicide watch. And I'm kind of watching all this happen. And like I said, my background is in workplace bullying. I've studied adults bullying other adults extensively. And I just thought, this is not what I signed up for. And these are people that I was aligned with politically. And that was my wake up moment to say, what is going on in the world? And do I want to really be a part of this?
Okay, so there's a lot there, but the sort of bones of your story is the type of story that I hear all the time. I've had many of my guests, I've been through my own version of it, that, you're basically, I think you can describe your own political positions, but, you think of yourself as sort of a good lefty, you're knitting, this is sort of apolitical. Next thing you know, some bizarre thing happens and everyone's a racist and a bigot and we're destroying lives and all that. Did you have no sense that any of this was going on within the community, or you actually used the word infiltrated? Were these outsiders that were coming in to suddenly wreak havoc, or were these people from within the community themselves? And I ask you this because a lot of people these days we're spending more and more time online. One of the things that I'm trying to do with my new tech company, locals.com, is create protected communities. And people are trying to figure out, how can you gate a community and make sure that all these bad actors, don't get in there?
No, I think a lot of them were actually part of the knitting community. And all of this, too, was surrounding the site Ravelry, which is one of the most popular knitting sites on the internet. And what Ravelry did, I think midway through last year, is they banned all support for Donald Trump. So you were not allowed to say anything in the forums about supporting him. You were not allowed to post patterns with like Trump 2020 or anything like that. And that fed into all of this as well. So what would happen is they would like coordinate on Ravelry and then they would go forth and bully people on Instagram, I think.
So what were the types of things that you were seeing besides just, oh, you're evil, you're racist, you're a bigot? Like, they were actually trying to go for people's jobs. And as you said, I mean, at least one guy had a mental breakdown because of it. But can you talk about that? Because I think a lot of times people that don't pay that much attention to this stuff, they're always like, oh, well, it's just some trolls on Twitter and there's no real world consequences, toughen up.
It's what is happening in the knitting world, at least, is these people are not just leaving nasty comments on people's images. They're actually going after their businesses. So what they do is, first off, they pick out high profile people to go after, because you don't want to just go after like Susie Q with like 2 followers. You're not going to make an impact that way. So they go after people that are influencers in the knitting world. And then what they do is they direct message all of the major knitwear designers or knitting stores, and they basically say, if you do not denounce these people, we are going to come after you too. And so there are very detrimental effects on people's businesses, and this is what their livelihood is. And knitting, like, spoiler alert, Dave, knitting is not like a lucrative business, right? And so when we're talking about going,
you're not getting that big knitting money.
Oh, I mean, well, I don't make my money from knitting, but no, I mean, they're doing what they need to do to get by. And so it really does have a horrible impact.
Okay, so what's interesting about this, because this is sort of a world, it's a very niche world that a lot of people don't understand about, but politically, now you mentioned the Trump thing already, that one of the sites said, okay, no more pro-Trump stuff, you can't knit a Trump sweater or anything like that. But politically speaking, this is a pretty female-dominated, lefty, basically, right? Lefty, ideologically dominated arena. So were you shocked? I mean, these are the people that are supposed to be tolerant and diverse and open and all of those things, and you considered yourself one of them, at least at the time. Were you shocked? And then how did that then lead to, I think, what you would now consider your political awakening?
Yeah, so it was very shocking to me. This was not what I perceived the good tolerant liberals to be doing. And I frankly hadn't been paying attention to a lot of this stuff that was going on in the world. I was busy. I was living my life. And so to see how this played out, it really did make me question everything about my belief system and the people I had aligned myself with.
Yeah. Can you just go through a little bit of what your political leanings were beforehand?
Yeah, I've called myself a liberal for like 20 years. I've been a Democrat since I was 18 years old, since I was able to register to vote. And frankly, I never really saw myself leaving the Democratic Party up until all this started happening.
If you're looking for more honest and thoughtful conversations about politics instead of nonstop yelling, check out our politics playlist. And if you want to watch full interviews on a variety of topics, watch our full episode playlist all right over here. And to get notified of all future videos, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell.